Welcome back to Transcriber from Reddit. This is part 2 of the Wall Street Journal's article regarding the 12 participants from diverse racial, ethnic, class, and political backgrounds. This is part of the way through Chapter 3. We covered in the previous video, which will be linked in the description below, a lot of the different respondents' responses, especially in regards to how varied they were across the spectrum. All of this is done to remind ourselves that we are not identified by our political group or our affiliation, or even by our class or religious affiliation. And we shouldn't let that serve as a dividing barrier between us and other people. I continue reading, starting with where I left off. The American dream proved a more divisive topic. A recent journal survey found a huge gap, linked here, between people's desires for their futures and their expectations of what they think they will achieve. We wanted to know if our participants felt the same way. Rachel Wolf from the Wall Street Journal started with a prompt: do you think the American dream is still or could be true for you? Lily Follett responded with, I feel like I'm in a good place right now. However, most of this is totally out of reach for people my age. College is becoming increasingly unaffordable. Buying a house seems more out of reach every day. John DeFilippo responded, it is not harder than it was. It's just hard, ... I came from humble roots, worked hard, did not spend on frivolous things. What I see today are people that are not willing to do any of those things. Jose Caballero commented, saying, I came to the U.S. in 2018 knowing no English and attending public high school, ... I've disciplined myself to prioritize my education and eventually was offered a Fulbright admission to one of the best universities in the nation. Joshua Burke also commented, saying, I think the American dream is an evolving concept. While it isn't dead, note that dead is in quotes, it is certainly a bit farther out of reach than it was previously. Here ends the text chat. Again, with no one cohesive answer. Moving on to Chapter 4, quote, anything but politics, end quote. The night of the second presidential debate between Donald Trump and the new Democratic nominee Kamala Harris was a turning point for the group's tone. Rachel Wolf from the Wall Street Journal started off with a prompt saying, unofficial question, anyone watching the debate tonight? With 2 question marks at the end. Amy Cook responded saying, I'm watching. My husband is busy canning pizza sauce. Farhad Merchant also commented saying, my son wanted to watch Sesame Street after coming home from the grandparents' house, but I convinced him to let me watch the debate in exchange for a popsicle. Crying, laughing emoji face. Joshua Burke also commented, saying, I think that each candidate spends 75% of the time responding to the response of the other, and then a murky 25% actually addressing the question. Andrew Windham also commented, saying, so what's he talking about eating pets? I haven't heard that one before. Robert Olson commented also, saying, these are the 2 worst candidates for president in my lifetime. Lily Follett commented, saying, even worse than Biden versus Trump, with a question mark at the end. That ends the group text chat. As the election neared, we saw the economy become even more of an essential issue for many voters and decided that our post-debate prompts should reflect that reality. Again, in the next group chat here, Rachel Wolf from the Wall Street Journal starts off with a text prompt saying, do you think the country is headed in the right direction? And asking, which candidate is best poised to get it back or keep it on track? Judy Kelly responds first with her comment saying, I definitely feel as though this country is heading in the wrong direction regarding equal rights. I thought women, LGBTQ, and Black people were overcoming at least some of the prejudice against them, ... But that appears to have only been surface success. Farhad Merchant also commented, saying, not headed in the right direction by a mile. I really struggle, more so than ever, with which candidate is, quote, better, end quote. Amy Cook also commented, saying, with Trump, at least we'll get better policy. The palace coup that led to Harris, being on that debate stage leaves a bad taste. Andrew Windham also comments, saying, I live in an impoverished rural area with barely any jobs that pay a living wage and low education rates, ... Anger, resentment at a faraway government is personal and real, ... I haven't had a candidate since 2016, and I'm not sure, but I will probably write a name in like I have done since 2016. So ends that text conversation. Side note, there's nothing wrong with writing in names for your own desired candidate on the ballot, especially as unity seems so far away. And presidential candidates' abilities to actually answer pertinent and poignant questions seems to get worse with every election cycle. I continue reading. By that night, it felt like the group was spiraling. Robert complained about bias in the media. Quote, far too often, reading the, quote, news, end quote, article leaves me feeling like I've actually read an opinion piece, end quote, and overall quote. Amy talked about the, quote, erosion of our First Amendment rights and a weaponized DOJ with selective prosecution, end quote. Judy saved the day with an announcement that it was her 80th birthday. Quote, I am blessed with 4 amazing children and their 3 spouses and 6 grandchildren, all of whom are the center of my life, reflected Judy, who spends half her year in Vermont and the rest of her time in Missouri, Pennsylvania, and Indiana, where each of her kids lives. The congratulations followed immediately. Quote, it truly made my morning to read that, end quote, replied Lily, 23. Quote, I hope I have the same thing when I'm older, end quote. We later circled back to politics to ask everyone if they felt like they understood the economic policies of the 2 main presidential candidates, Vice President Harris and former President Trump. Also, did Harris being a woman influence their decision in any way? Here we have a screenshot of the next group chat. Starting off with Aaron Wells commenting, I don't care if the candidate is a man or a woman or any color of the rainbow, ... I care about electing the best person for the job. Note that the word best is in all caps. Rachel Ruelas also commented, saying, I was just remarking the other day that electing the first woman POTUS seemed like a bigger deal in 2016, and now I just want the best person for the job. Her being a her is secondary. Farhad Merchant also commented, saying, on Trump's side, it feels like he's just saying / addressing whatever he thinks is the hot button issue of the moment, ... On the Harris side, she at least has a slightly more spelled out plan, but still not great as she hasn't had as much time like another candidate in a, quote, normal, end quote, cycle would have, ... Aaron Wells also commented, saying, oh, and BTW, standing for by the way, Condoleezza Rice should be our first female president, ... One smart broad, ... John DeFilippo ends this particular comment section by saying, I actually would have loved to vote for Condoleezza Rice and made my first political contribution to Nikki Haley. Neither of those preferences were based on identity politics. Here ends the group chat. By the end, nobody had changed their minds on any of the issues we'd spent the past month discussing. But after sharing so much about their lives, they had changed their minds about the people with whom they disagreed. Note that the words "the people" are in italics. Rachel reflected on her experience. Quote, the reward was that we got to see them as a person and not a stereotype, glimpse into their real lives and benefit from their perspective, end quote. She wrote to the group on one of the last days of the chat, end quote. Even quote, even, parentheses, maybe especially, end parentheses, if we discovered we would rather chat with them about anything but politics, end quote. Note that the word but is in all caps. As the group's 5 weeks of active discussion drew to a close, Amy had an idea. Quote, does it have to end? End quote. Sure enough, the group resurrected itself a couple of weeks later. Quote, hey everyone, end quote, Lily said. Quote, is anyone watching the VP debate? End quote. VP standing for Vice President. Here ends the article. At the bottom in italics, we see it's produced by Dylan Scott. And then back to regular text, it says, write to Rachel Wolf at rachel.wolf@wsj.com. Regardless of what candidate you're voting for, vote the best. Vote with all the determination you have. And with an equal amount of that same determination, reach out to the people around you and don't stop participating in your local communities. And especially don't stop participating in your local politics. Remember that you are surrounded by people that are just like you, with hopes and dreams, and a lot of expectations and fears. We don't know what the future will bring, but let's not engage in the first step, which leads to dehumanization of anyone. We're all people, and we can all come together, regardless of who is going to be elected president. Thank you for watching or listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.